I believe we are live now.
Okay. Well, welcome back to the Chicago TI 4A slash Geneve User Group. This is April the 15th, 2023. Oh boy. Didn't have my coffee this morning. At any rate, we're here on an unusual day today. Today is a couple of weeks past our usual meeting time, as I'm sure everyone knows. But we had some personal conflicts. Life kind of gets in the way sometimes. But anyway, we are here. Our president, Vic Stewart, is here. Has a number of interesting programs that he's going to demo today. Our technical guru, Jim Mazurek, is here. We have a brand new member who's just come back to the fold, John Grenholm, also an Evanstonian, as I am. And I'm here as well. I'm Hal Shanfield, fair chairman, et cetera, dog's body. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Vic, what have you got for us today?
Oh, okay. Yes, let's like and subscribe. I still have the what I call the VMODs floppy disk in the Nano PDB, and this started out a few decades ago when I picked up a big box of game discs at the fair, and these were editor, assembler, or extended basic cartridge dumps. So you see some old friends like Amazing, Chisholm Trail, Parsec, things like that on. And we'll do a catalog on those. So let me close this down. We're running, for video, a F18 video card in the console. I have a Final Ground 99 for cartridge emulation and a Nano PEB for floppy emulation. So we've got RXB in the cartridge. We'll press period for editor assembler, D for directory. Let's see what cartridge I have in right now. Oh, okay, so this is Breakout. And I'm going to go to floppy 2. And oh, this is Micropendium. And this had, oh yeah, this is what I was trying to run. There's a couple of interesting floppy disk tutor programs here. One that almost works and one that works fine. This is off the Barry Travers Genial Traveler Library. So Disk Tutor version 1.1, free to current subscribers, the Micropendium Genie or the Genial Traveler. Send $2 to Barry Traver. Well, that might be difficult.
Yeah, it might be.
State, but we'll press the any key. Barry Traver had what he called a magazine on a disc that you could subscribe to, called the Genial Traveler, which is a mashup of Genie and Barry Traver. And so here it says, ever wonder what's on those two sectors that are already marked off as used when you initialize a disk? Well, this tutorial will let you see how the TI-DOS disk operating system uses the first two sectors to do its housekeeping chores. The actual files and one sector file headers are kept elsewhere on the disk, but the essential general information is kept on the first two sectors, 0 and 1. Okay, how do I want to get the...
What's that?
Want to read the next screen?
Oh, sure. The best way to see how things are set up is to look at specific examples. That is what we'll do here. So at this point, you need to choose a sample disk that you would like to explore and place it in one of your drives, or you may want to see whether this program will work on your RAM disk. What drive would you like to examine? 1 to 9.
Okay, yeah, this goes 1 to 9 on my RAM disk in my P box at home. I have the drives lettered A to M. because it's a big RAM disk. But this program could be edited to accept a letter input instead of a number input. I'm sure if I press like A, yeah, he's got error trapping in this program. It's not going to crash and give you a hard time. Well, we already saw the disk 1. Place your disk in the appropriate drive and press enter. Reading. Calculating. Yeah, we saw that one had that program called Breakout. I'm sure you know what program that is. Go ahead, Hal.
Each sector, including sector 0, is made up of 256 bytes, numbered from 0 to 255. Sector 0 is called the Volume Information Block, or VIB, not to be confused with VIP, which is, you know. On this sector, most of the general information concerning the disk is to be found, except for Sector 1, the File Descriptor Index, which tells where headers for the various files are found.
So this is that disk in drive 1. So you can see it's got the name of the disk on it. And you're allowed 10 characters for the name. So there's 10 spaces. So the name of this disk you put in drive 1 is Breakout. Bits 10 and 11 tell us the total number of formatted sectors, including sectors 0 and 1. So we have byte 10 or 0A hex, and 11 decimal or 0B hex. Character string is the ampersand. No, it's not an ampersand, that's the @ symbol. Isn't there a name for that?
What's up?
The @ symbol, or is it just better to call it the @ symbol? 'Cause that's what
symbol.
everybody-
Yeah, I can't remember if there's a particular typography name.
The
for it.
following chart may help out. Is 0168 is 360 sectors. 02D0 is 720 sectors. So the first number would be single-sided, single density. The second one would be double-sided, single density. The third one would be double-sided, double density, rare in the TI world. And the bottom would be double-sided quad density. I think you had to go to like those little 3 1/4 inch floppy disks, the hard shell ones,
Yeah.
to get a quad density. Therefore, your disk has 1,600 total sectors. What? How does it have 1,600 total sectors? Well, we're cheating. We're using a nano PEB, and for technical reasons, these compact flash cards have 1,600 sector floppies on them. So you can easily load a bunch of programs in a nano PEB floppy that you'll never be able to get onto a physical floppy. However, those of you with emulators or with nanos, it works just fine. So byte 12 of sector 0 tells us the number of sectors per track. So it's byte 12 decimal or 0C hexadecimal in ASCII 9 or 09. Your track has 9 sectors per track. Well, in the early days of these floppy drives, they used to be logically 8 sectors per track. But then they figured out, oh, we can put more data on a floppy if you go with 9 sectors per track. Nobody ever looks at these or tries to manipulate them directly. And this worked fine, except MyArc had already made a bunch of floppy disk controllers that initialized at 8 sectors per track. And it was only later they made disk controllers and their HFDC, hardened floppy disk controller, that would do 9 sectors per track. So I have some programs, notably sound effects, that was initialized with the MyArc controller at 8 sectors per track, and every other controller at 9 sectors per track loads one data file and a sector or two of the next data file. And And for something that's just supposed to play recorded sound files, can lead to humorous results
Yeah.
as it's blending them together. I always swore someday I would fix that.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. It was, as I recall, it was the Alka-Seltzer commercial that came on after, I think it was the Eddie Murphy sound effect said, "Let me whip this out." And then Alka-Seltzer said, "Oh, what a relief it is."
Yeah. Yeah, those were a bunch of humorous, they had President George Bush Sr., they had Speedy Alka-Seltzer, they had Bart Simpson. They had a whole bunch of funny stuff. So anyway, your track disc has 9 sectors per track. So the Nano PEB follows conventional TI format protocol of the 9 sectors. So bytes 13 and 15 use DSK to indicate that the disk has been initialized. So you see at the bottom of the screen here, byte 13, 14, 15, character string DSK. I wonder what it would be if it wasn't initialized. Let's go to the next screen. I'll press the space bar. Okay, now.
Well, whoops.
Okay, yeah, that's where this one fails. And so I think I can edit this out. Oh, okay. So if I just put an exclamation point, that makes this a REM statement. Let's try running.
John, are we overwhelming you with too much information for the first time when you come back after years away from the TI?
Actually, what I should find,
Just keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
what I should find,
And you just substituted for another.
Normally, we do a lot of games. We play a lot of, show some of the older games, older utilities and things like that. We haven't done this in a long time, so.
I do have Teach Yourself Basic and Teach Yourself Extended Basic.
Well, I think that's the kind of thing you want to do by yourself, make your own mistakes, redo it, make your own mistakes again, redo it until you get it right type of thing. That's how I do it. And doing it on cassette was even more fun, trying to get that little beep, 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 beep to work the
Yeah.
first time.
Currently, people are having a fun time trying to load audio files off of a PC into a TI rather than using the old cassette player. And consensus seems to be a PC's audio output isn't loud enough to for the TI. So let's see if we can get back to that. Okay, so
That's
I
it?
cheated, I edited out line 390.
Okay,
So it's going to come back with a false statement here, your disk is single density. No, it's not, it's like a double and a half, because it's 1600 bytes. But it crashed at that
Yeah,
point.
it's computing nonsense and
Yeah.
throwing an error,
Okay, now,
or what it thinks is nonsense.
let's see, since bytes 20 through 55 are not currently used, all that remains is to be considered as the allocation bitmap in bytes 56 to 255. The bits in these bytes tell whether or not a sector is regarded as in use. If a certain sector doesn't exist, for example, sector 360 or 361 on a single-sided single-density disk, it is also marked off as used. Since there are only 1,600 such bits available, 0 through 1599, there aren't enough bits for each sector on a 2880 sector disk to get its own bit.
yeah, so they start
Outside.
having blocks of sectors rather than individual sectors. And you go to that big of a disk, and you really don't get quite as much room as you would think, because now every file has at least 2 sectors allocated to it. And when it ends, it might end on an even or it might end on an odd sector, which means you have a sector with no data on it. Because it has to have. So
There-
yeah, this explains it.
There were, I think, some protection schemes utilizing some of those factors, weren't there? That if there was I don't remember exactly how it worked, but you could put information in there, and if someone tried to copy a disk and there wasn't something where it was supposed to be, the thing would crash and wouldn't let you
Yeah.
pirate a disk until you paid the money, and then you got the information about how to get
A
around
lot of
that.
times that would be in the load program,
Yeah.
where instead of loading a particular file, it would go to that file and load like the next sector, not the starting sector, but the next one. And yeah, they had a whole bunch of copy protection schemes, but then you had,
Most of which were broken by some of our members, actually, and then promulgated across, in those days, BBSs. And that unfortunately had the effect of discouraging people who were trying to make some money from making any more programs. The result being that we lost programmers that way because there were a lot of cheapskates out there who wouldn't pay $4 or $5 for a program, and guilty as charged. We used to copy a lot of stuff. After every meeting, there would be swapping of disks, and our after meetings, sometimes at my house, sometimes at Hank Elliman's house, sometimes at Wendy's on the north side of Chicago. Used to be a lot of that sort of thing that would go on, but that was 35 years ago. We don't do that much anymore. Now it's pretty much all public domain. The whole world has changed, but there's still brand new programs being written all the time, even as we speak, and being put up on places like AtariAge, I guess. I don't go to AtariAge. Just
Yes.
the name AtariAge puts me off.
on the Facebook, people list new programs they've written,
Yeah.
and they have it as a zip file on AtariAge.
Yeah, or they bring them to the fair.
So you need,
And debut them at the fair. New equipment and new programs are always showing up every year at the fair.
Right.
Which, by the way, if I can get a quick plug in here, will be October the 14th. October the 14th of this year. Write that down, make your hotel reservations now, boys and girls. So are we pretty much done with this one?
Yeah, and this gets technical in a hurry.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a couple of games and show John some of the things that have been done lately on the TI.
So go to the editor assembler section of RxB, and you get this menu, press D for directory. We'll look at disk 1, and it has one program called Breakout. By pressing the space bar, I can load this with extended basic. If I press enter, it will try to load it as an EA5 program. I bet you're going to need a set of controllers for this.
Better make it the easy level.
Oh, are we gonna read the instructions again?
It says difficulty level 1 to 5, and then it comes up as a 3. Default value is a 3. I would say let's make it a -1 here.
So most of these games are playable with controller number 1. However, a lot of games, without telling you, they try to balance the wear on your controller, and they play with controller number 2. And so if you can't get it to work with 1, it works with 2. Also, on most TIs, you gotta make sure your alpha lock key is up, or the up direction on the controller won't work.
Huh.
Left, right, and down works fine, fire works fine, but you can't get it to go north.
That's across the board, that's on everything?
you know, they're matrixed in with the rest of the keyboard rows and columns, so if you don't, you can probably also match keys on the keyboard while someone is playing a joystick game.
And there is a
Oh, we have that
fix for
program
that,
somewhere.
but a little diode or some damn thing in there that has to be changed.
Yeah.
But I never go inside, my console is pristine, I've never tried to put anything, make any changes. These guys tear everything apart and.
No, mine's actually pretty,
Pretty pristine too?
Yeah.
No, well, I've got some in there with switching power supplies.
although I did pick up a rough shape TI at one of the fairs, which will probably be the one that I turn into a Frankenstein. You know, maybe put something, you know, replace the console ROMs or add, you know, on system GROM Pro. I don't think we needed that.
Okay, so that's your panel on the left. Ready?
Okay.
And this is the difficulty with the TI, is games like this were originally written for a, did not seem to go
I
up?
didn't go up.
Okay.
Not going up.
Maybe it's not joystick driven.
It went down, I think.
Oh.
I think it went down.
Well, this is the perfect TI demo
Well, there it
because
goes, there it goes.
the joke is that if it doesn't crash, it's not a real TI demo.
Now, this shows a shortcoming on the TI in porting this kind of game over. Because stuff like this was written for like an Atari that has a rotary volume control stick called a paddle,
No,
because it's for paddles like games like this. Ready?
no.
And so with the TI, you have a compromise on, we've got an on-off switch and how fast you're gonna move.
I think the idea here is if you hit this, one of these boxes,
Exploding.
yeah, you lose.
Or squares or tiles.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The one by Torman is a much nicer breakout game, much more colorful and I think works better. This is
Is this, is this a TI, is this a TI breakout, or is this,
who's this? Is this Barry Traver?
Yeah,
Yeah, Barry Traver wrote that.
here we go. So, it doesn't say who wrote this, but I think I was going through the Barry Traver collection
Yeah, I think
at
that's.
this time.
Isn't that the one that uses a demo to show how the tutor is working? Is that, I'm not sure.
Bush demo, I think that's a sound effects file. And there's sound effects down there, but that's the DV80 is a text file. So that's not the actual sound FX program. So this is, we're cataloging my utilities disk that I put in slot number 3 on the Nano, because the TI really doesn't use a third disk drive very much.
I've got 4 disk drives, but
He just
Yeah.
keeps hoarding them all.
yeah, I use one most
Okay,
of
so
the
I
time.
don't have sound effects on here.
Yeah, it was on there. It was down on the bottom.
Yeah, but that's where I copied the DV80 file.
Oh,
So that it only describes how to use the sound effects
Oh.
program itself.
the DV85, if you remember, is a text file.
Yeah. DF80, the S load above there, is a editor assembler, I believe, 3 file. But yeah, I was going through here, trying to see if I could find that Teach Yourself Basic program. I usually set this all up a week before, but our schedule's all scrambled today.
How about Skyscape? Can you run that for a moment while you're looking?
Now, Skyscape originally showed up in RCA's Compute magazine in the mid-'80s. And the TI section got smaller and smaller each month until it was finally abandoned. I had fun with Skyscape. I typed it in one month and it wouldn't run. And so I learned so much about basic programming by typing in a program and having typographical errors. And then I would have to go
Yeah,
and debug it
yeah.
and try to find out what this weird problem was and where I made a mistake. But doing the best I could never get Skyscape to run.
Does that imply there was a bug in the Skyscape code?
Well,
Or
It's
a misprint somewhere?
so we can re-input the date, or we can proceed to continue. No, it was worse than that. It was like 4 months after they originally printed the code in the magazine.
Oh, by the
It's-
way, here's the corrected code.
By the way, well, they had in their error section, different lines that had different errors, so I got the magazine every month. It's this, this, and this. It was like 4 or 5 months later. Oh, TI owners, you need the 32K memory expansion to run this program. And I'm like, no
Oh,
wonder I
yeah.
can't get this. Because even though I had a P box, an extended basic, I didn't have the memory expansion yet.
Cost real money back then.
Okay, so this gives you the astronomical data of where everything's at. And your moon, the age, it's a waning crescent.
Does this have a graphic representation of what you're gonna see?
Yes,
Okay.
but now using TI's infamous double precision data math calculator that also powers the Patriot anti-missile system, it figures it out. So here's the meat of the program, day, sky, or new day. So you can look at what the sky looks like today, day or night, or you can input another date. So we'll go with S for sky. And what time is it? It's like 1 o'clock?
Well, it's 2 o'clock now, but
Oh,
it's kind of late out. You might
14
wanna-
at 0.
But that's why these programs.
Yeah, it uses,
perfect, because if it
24
was
hour
dark, it would tell you
Yeah.
what you could see.
I'll
So
press
it's-
C to continue. It gives you a blue sky. 0 is at the top, the horizon's at the bottom. The red bars there are your zodiac signs. So that's Capricorn, Gemini, Taurus. Okay, and it gives you the key. Oh, we got a packed program today. Up there in the upper left, you have Mars. Next to it on the same line, you have Venus. The U-shaped one there is Uranus, usually not visible from Earth, unless you have a real good pair of binoculars. The diamond is Mercury, and going to the right a little bit, you have the asterisk there is the sun. Right next to the sun is Jupiter, and on the far right, you got the circle with the slash in it, Saturn. So, yes, you can see everything. And we're at about 42 degrees northern latitude here. You can also go to southern latitude on this by putting in a negative number. But let's go for time. And let's look at, 10 o'clock at night? Now, if you enter, one of these days I'm going to go through it and find out what numbers you have to put in. If you enter the right year, the right month, and the right date, you can see Halley's Comet.
Yeah, every 76 years.
Well, it came back at that time.
Yeah. Mark Twain was born and died in the year of Halley's Comet, and he actually predicted his own death. He said, I came in then, and I'll probably go out then, and sure enough.
Yeah. So here, 2200, there's nothing visible in the sky. You don't have the moon. Where is the moon right now? Did they show that at the? No.
Well, it probably means that it's overcast in Chicago. So,
It's a new moon, black on black.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah, but it will show you it has the code for that key.
What's the one that shows the, what was the name of the program that has the rain falling and the one that you used to like as a screensaver, it had rain falling and the ducks swimming by?
Yeah, that's off the MightyWare disk, and that had a whole bunch of different programs in it. It had one of those cut the grass in the backyard with the
Yeah.
lawnmower, and you had some obstacles.
Screensavers were a big deal once upon a time with cathode ray tubes. And a lot of people wrote screensavers just to protect their monitors, because if you kept an image on screen for more than a few minutes, it would burn into the covering on the tube.
The phosphorus would
In
burn.
Phosphorus.
fact,
Yeah, and
if you
couldn't
find
get rid
an
of it.
old terminal somewhere, you will often see the result of the login screen burnt into the surface of the terminal.
Even with these newfangled flat panel TVs,
Yeah, some of them have stuck pixel issues.
you see an image burned in where they used it as an advertising billboard in a store.
Yeah,
And it just had the same image on it, so even these are susceptible to that.
right.
Okay, so here's 7 o'clock in the morning today, and there's the moon is way east there of Saturn. So the moon, so that's a crescent moon, which was what, waning, waxing. Let's look at the planetary table for press P.
It's a waning crescent moon.
This will tell us.
I gotta sit down for a minute.
Okay. So what does it say that was? Right assumption. No, it doesn't.
What, the moon?
Yeah.
It was there before. It said it was a waning crescent moon, 24 and a half days old.
I think we've got to go all the way back to enter the date.
So to just close this? I just close it like that.
Here it is. It was on the second screen. The moon's data, its age, and it's a waning crescent. Okay.
It's a good thing to have. It's good information to know. And I suppose you can look at a calendar and pretty much get the same information these days, but yeah, it's good to know. I know my little GPS tells me what time the moon is going to rise, and if I'm sailing at night, it's nice to know if I'm going to get a full moon, or what time the moon is going to come up, because if I'm going out at night and the moon is just setting, it gets pretty dark out there.
Going through my folder here, trying to find what other interesting discs my schedule sort of got. Oops. So this is the Sam Moore music number 1 off the Tiger Cub library. So we have, it's the Beethoven, Alvin Leaf, Amazing Grace, Versus, Big Cat Boogie, and Boogie Oogie Oogie, and Bugle Boogie, and Bubble Boogie. There's a Doggy Boogie one, Puppy Town, on a different disc. But just as the example here, let's go with an old favorite here.
Oh, that's a nice image.
So we'll list this, notice this line 0. You can't type in a line 0 on a TI and have it accepted. You gotta jump through a minor hoop to do that. And so Barry put this in to make sure that people couldn't easily edit this out. He's back. It's modified by Barry Traver, has his address, and doesn't say what he did. Well, you notice here he has a go-to 4 for line 1, and he calls all his variables and all his statements first. And that lets the program run cleaner with less stuttering. And of course, the exclamation point at P minus is a pre-scan, which tells the computer to go through all the lines first and allocate all the memory and figure everything out before it actually starts to try to run it. And that gives it a cleaner operation. And line 10 here, about the middle of the screen, we've got a call link BAT. Well, he has embedded assembly into this program for some reason. And the name is called BAT for some reason.
Barry A. Traver.
Very true. Oh, okay. And so if we just run this, yeah, he had all save, all load, and Bruce Harrison, who also worked with MIDI Master and MIDI Album,
Yeah, he wrote MIDI album.
had a Graphicom, which was a graphics compiler that ran very quickly. Well, the TI's got 3 tone generators
Yeah.
And
Plus
what,
white noise, I guess, or
and
whatever.
2 noise generators. So,
It got a lot better with being able to connect to MIDI. We had quite a volume in the library of music that had been created. My wife and my daughter were programming. You could do this with symbolic note format. You could type it in on the computer, and then it would play it on the MIDI keyboard. And then Bruce Harrison, that was written by Mike Maximic, one of our members. Mike is 6'8" now, shaved his head, rides a motorcycle, is all dressed in black, and they call him the Undertaker. He played defensive tackle for the Chicago Stallions, semi-pro football team. He's hell of a programmer, but kind of a strange guy these days. But then that applies to a lot of us. He wrote MIDI Master, and we went to Lima, and he was working all night. We were sharing a room, and he was working all night creating the cables, the proprietary cables to plug in from the console, from the P-Box, I guess it was, keyboard, and he wouldn't let anybody else work on it. And then finally he just lost interest in it. And then eventually Bruce Harrison wrote the follow-on, which was MIDI album, which allowed you to play on the keyboard and then have that recorded. And then it came out in symbolic note format on paper, so you could look and say, "Oops, I missed a note there," and then put that in, and then it would correct it. Or you could just, as I say, you could just keep playing it, and then you could also link different sections together. So instead of being constrained by the size of the file, you could then link files together. So you could play an entire sonata, or if you had enough
All in MIDI
disk drives.
format, all MIDI format?
Yeah, you could play the whole, let's say a whole section of Beethoven, for
Yeah.
instance, in 15, 20 minutes worth. And again, on the keyboard, where it sounded much better because it had all the different sounds
Yeah.
that you could emulate, and instruments, I should say, that you could emulate. It's an amazing program. We'll have to demo that one of these days. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of programs to demo. We can't do all of them all the time. So there's a theme for each month, and this is this month's theme.
Okay, so we're going through the singing TI. And this uses the speech synthesizer and the music generator. And this is the text file. So put disk and drive on, and load song 1 or song 2, disk 1, song X, whole disk song, okay. So what we're using now is boot to, this is not part of the TI menu screen. This is a program called boot, an EA5 program. And the nice thing about this is you can set up boot, put it on any disk you have, and you can have a menuing program on your disk. So if you press 5, this is the edit portion. And you can see disk 3. You can have something like that, and you can save this, and the next time you load boot, that will be there, and it makes it a real nice way. It completely changes the personality of the TI of how it runs. So we'll go back into this, editor assembler, directory, look at drive 1, singing TI, and according to the docs, you just select song 1 or song 2. There were several singing TI discs. Ken Gilliland worked on a few of them with the South Pacific, the Wizard of Oz, things like that. Okay, stand by, it's loading the files. Yeah, I see my disk drive lights flickering here. Oh. Yeah, it's loading the utility files. There we go. Barry Bode had systex, where that's yet one of the earliest embedding assembly into an extended basic program. So it doesn't have to load assembly routines off of a floppy. They're built in. Okay. So we have 2 songs, Octopus's Garden, and I saw her standing there. Option 3 runs the song 2 program file. This is song 1. So we're going to press 1. My best my friends will come rapidly, and
octopus started with me. I'd like to be under the sea, and an octopus is started in the sea. We will be warm, we will the storm, and our little hideaway beneath the waves. Resting our head on the seabed, and an octopus is started near a cave. We will sing and dance around, because we know we can't be found. I'd like to be under the sea, and an octopus is started in the shade. We will shout and swim about the current that lies beneath the waves. Oh, what joy for every year and boy, knowing they're happy and they're safe. We will be so happy you and me, no one there to tell us what to do. I'd like to be under the sea, and an octopus is started with you. And an octopus is started with you.
So the TI sings, puts,
Nice to know that, it's nice to know the tune before you see that, otherwise you'd never figure out the tune.
mhm.
I suppose they were stoned when they wrote it. I kind of feel.
Well, they had that whole yellow submarine thing.
Yeah, that whole time there was,
Sergeant Pepper's.
enough money, yeah, enough money to go and live in India and be silly and write silly songs and still have people buy them by the billions, you know.
Enough money to do
Yeah.
John and Yoko to do a political protest by spending.
Yeah,
money.
no, and they could,
Gee, it must be nice not having to go to work and.
yeah, it's like being the Kardashians or something. They were, famous for being famous.
Uh-huh.
And no matter what they did, it was, cool. It was a good
Okay.
time. Good time to be a
So it's
kid.
loaded the routines. Yeah, there's assembly language built into this extended basic program, but according to the docs, it has to load the XLATE and the speech program and the singing TI. Here comes the sun and you're so vain.
You walked into the party like you were walking up to a house. You're not strategically you were you're starting to fabricate. You had one eye in the rear as you watched yourself up, and all the girls leave me your partner, and you're so vain. You probably think this about you. You're so vain. I bet you think this about you. You had me several years ago when I was still quite young. Well, you said that we made such a pretty pair, and that you would never leave. But you evaluate the things you love, and the one that was me. I had some dreams, they were clouds in my coffee, and you're so vain. You probably think this about you. You're so vain. I bet you think this about you. I had some dreams, they were clouds in my coffee, and you're so vain. You probably think this about you. You're so vain. I bet you think this about you. Well, I hear you went up to Saratoga, and your voice naturally up. Then you flew your jet up to Nova Scotia to see the total eclipse of the sun. Well, you're where you should be all the time, and when you are not, your head's another world inspired of
Yes, indeed. The Tiger Cub collection has many foreign language drills. Where Don Chirac had those on teaching yourself Japanese, Spanish, Finnish, Swedish, Norwegian, Hungarian, French, German.
Yeah, I did some excellent programming. I remember when he drove through that blizzard to get to the fair. 500 miles. I told him that the interstate was closed. He said, I gotta go. He did, and made it. And had so much stuff. I bought some of them. I bought the ones down in Tucson, I think it was. And he also, he drew out the characters in kanji, for instance, in Japanese, so that you not only heard it, but you saw it being created and how it was written, because
Yeah, he had to learn logo
yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
Okay, we're switching SD cards here. Get the
I mean CF cards, right? I like compact flash cards better than the little ones because I have no small motor skills, and it was easier to put the bigger card in the camera, for instance, than it
And you
was.
don't want to lose your micro SD card in your shag carpeting.
Just disappeared. Oh. That's
Yeah, so what I'm doing here is, this is all software, command line operated. Call unmount removes the virtual floppy disk from drive 1, and call mount installs in drive 1 disk number 826. And on this particular card, I have 1,240 floppies loaded onto it. Out of available 1,250 for I think it's a 1 gig compact flash.
We have a question from, Dick Crouch. Has anyone done much TI programming for small business accounting?
I don't think I've seen that in this one. There are various accounting programs, but I can't remember one specific.
ask him if he's going to be at the fair this year. He drives in from.
He's probably listening to you, so you can probably ask
Oh,
him yourself.
okay. Dick? That's right, yeah. Well, he can't reply, but maybe he will.
You can reply in text.
Yeah. Dick, are you gonna come to the fair this year? You still in Iowa?
So you can get a response from him.
Yeah.
Okay, this is called hardware utilities. Oh, should we skip the instructions? Oh, no. Alarm is a program called Do-It-Yourself Home Security with instructions for making an alarm to hook to the joystick probe or the program to use it. MVP clock is an archive file containing instructions, schematics, and RLE format for putting a clock in the TI console and an assembly routine to set the clock. Disk speed is a disk drive speed check for the Meyer disk controller only. A print check gives instruction for modification to the printer RS-230 cable, which enables the assembly routine print check /O to determine if the printer is disconnected, turned off, busy, or ready. Joystick pin has schematics for TI joystick pin pinouts. TV test is a test pattern. System test tests any RAM requires supercard or other device. Okay. So, gosh, that's a good question. Do I have a supercard with me? Supercard's an editor assembler with the 8K added on to it.
There's so much stuff I've forgotten. I remember Barry Harmson put a clock with a couple of commands, a very, very simple couple of commands, put a clock on the screen for me one time. And the damn life of me, I cannot remember how he did it. Unfortunately, Barry passed away in January, and will not be coming back to the fair from Amsterdam. Barry was the worldwide ambassador for TI, and went to all of the meetings in all of the countries around the world. Everyone in the world knew Barry.
Okay, I can't run sys-test. It's another disk that has the one that's very user-friendly. So back in the old days, we had CRT monitors, and they fired an electron beam through a magnetic field. Gosh, that's annoying.
Just in case you weren't already asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a height and width test. Screen adjustment. Static convergence. Okay. On this purity. Well, that was a quick test. On this F18 to video, using a flat panel, there's a small margin around the perimeter of the screen that's necessary by the hardware. It can't do a full screen, fill an entire screen of a flat panel. You're going to have border around there. And that was, so the F18 doesn't cost twice what it does. Because it would have taken jumping through hoops, figuratively, to be able to fill the full screen. 6, that's what, 5, 6, pin cushion. I actually used some of these programs when I had the TI for realigning color TVs. As I was fearless, I'd open the back of a console TV set and have a 1-foot square mirror in front of the TV propped up against the couch. And I'd go there and I'd play with all the tabs and everything and get the picture right again. Okay. Okay.
You know, you've got an awful lot of stuff I've never seen before.
Here we go. So we'll remove the virtual floppy. Let me see what disk I'm trying to put in here. Quit. Get back into extended basic. Do a directory. What's on drive 1? Oh, okay, there's a load program already. I don't think they're gonna pull that dirty trick of having an annoying sound. So you have instructions, arrays, BXB assembly language, effects, graphics. Okay, so this is a little advanced on programming in extended basic. We had X basic programming tutorial, music programming tutorial, if you want to run that. Yeah, this is a little more advanced extended basic programming. Well, that was Fred Call's TIDIR program that runs on a Windows or Linux machine and copies .dsk files onto a compact flash card. Two-line game, 37 game accept calculator catalog. I was hoping there would be a tutorial on here. Well, just start at the top. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is like a driving game. I'm using the S and D arrow keys to move the white line. Yeah, Regina did one like that with her, well, what's that real twisty road in California, Los Angeles?
Lombard Street, or no?
Lombard Street,
That's
yes.
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. And she did Muir Woods also on that disc. But yeah, Lombard Street played very much like that. I wonder what a 37 game is. Take turns picking a number from 1 to 5, not the number it was just picked. Okay, so it excludes it. It's like Bruce Harrison worked with, when you do a card game, it has to subtract the cards that you've dealt from the deck, if you want to pick a card from the deck.
Very good. I start bringing my glasses as well as everything else.
Okay, so was the card from what, number from what, 1 to 37 or 1 to? This must be a random number generator of some sort.
Yeah, Deck writes that he was thinking of going back to.
I don't know how this
manual
plays, I'm
book,
gonna
but
have to quit this.
Gotta have a computer these days for everything.
I'm trying to find the, menu, directory one. Animation, basic, primer, bass. Yeah, bass music is fun on the TI because you can't produce notes below a certain frequency. But you cheat. You call a note and you call the noise program, and you can fudge it and get bass notes then. Let's do the load. Okay, angry bull. Well, start at the top. Or let's start a basic primer because we want to do a learning basic routine here. Yeah, the guys over at CTIUG are all heavily into the emulators and such. And I felt a little out of place there because I had this, stock TI. They're all going, oh yeah, well this one's on the stock TI. Well, how do you know? And I found some interesting artifacts. Okay, I hope you're going to like the program. This program runs by itself. You must try real hard to stay awake and learn something. Hey, Jack, go ahead. You got the hot seat.
For me?
Yeah. No, I got them for John. Go ahead.
Go for it.
You're learning basic, extended basic. So if you get the disc, teach yourself extended basic. And one,
Surround strings. Addendum, at any time if you wish to try any of the commands, just press function or stop program. Then you may try any of the commands to make sure you fully understand them. Then you may restart the program by typing run or by simply typing con, which means continue. Surprisingly logical, isn't it? Press any key to continue. So we're doing strings now. A string is a group of letters and or numbers that assign a name. For example, a string equals quotes little red dog. Or a string equals quotes I'm 20 years old are valid strings. Then if you wish to print the statement, you have only to enter print a string. The time saver, press any key to continue.
interesting use of colors.
In basic primer 1, we discussed how to input a number while the program was running. We can do the same thing with strings. Example, input a string.
Go ahead.
This will allow you to enter up to 4 lines of string before you press enter. This stores your entry in memory and it can be brought up by calling up a string. Example, print a string. The input string may also contain an input prompt as shown below. Input string, input enter string, colon a string. This works well when you are going to have more than one input and you must tell them apart. The if then command is a very helpful command to use. It is best shown by example. Line 10, x equals x plus 1, if x equals 2, then 40. 30 go to 10, 40 end. So that's that.
Oh, so it explains what it's doing there.
Yeah. The explanation is line 10 will set x to 1, 20 conditional checks, see if x equals to 30. The go-to line which jumps to line 10, now line 10 increments x by 1, sets x to 2, line 20 checks if x equals 2, so it's going to jump to 40, now which will go, and then we'll jump to 40 as a program. R&D stands for random. It is invaluable when games are played. When you call up R&D, the computer will give you a number between 0 and 1. This number the computer gives you is 10 decimals long. You manipulate these numbers as so. X equals
Integer.
X equals integer. It's a cast, right? It's a cast or it's
Function.
It's a function. Okay, x equals integer function.
Oh, no, you're right, it is a cast, well, not a cast, it's a grouping.
So is it a function or is it a?
Well, I think it is acting as an integer function. It's basically taking what will be a decimal approximation and turning it into an integer value.
Yeah. So you have a decimal fractional number between 0 and 1.
Which times 10 will bring
Yeah,
you
and
to-
so it does random times 10, but then it will make that an integer rather
or
than.
truncate it, or.
Yeah, instead of 5.4638, you know,
It'll give you the
it'll,
nearest full integer value.
yeah, it'll make it an actual number.
So it's more like a function then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
We'll give you a whole number between 0 and 9. Turn off. Call call key, the call key statement is a good command to learn. When you want to stop something somewhere in your program until you give it a signal to go on, it works admirably. Or when you want to enter only one digit of info to the computer. Format, call key 0, key status. Key stands for the key to press. Status is 0 until key is pressed. So this is sort of this is sort of generic pause. Or,
Yeah, but that's what they're doing in this program at this line, press any key to continue. That's actually this, they're waiting for you to press a key, and when the status is not 0 anymore, it'll go to the next part of the program.
Okay. So you would see this in games a lot then.
And the TI can get complicated in a hurry because there's different formats of the keyboard where you have the entire keyboard or you split it for left player, right player. So there's different, I think 0 is the full keyboard. And then they got 1 and 2 for like split keyboard or different, I forget what the exact. Actually, we've got one of the books here. It's the page. Was that the yellow book? Or the, yeah, the green book. As we have call key 287. Key subbook. Yeah, 0 is console keyboard. Yeah, call key 1 would be the left side, or remote control 1. And 2 would be the right side, and 3, 4, 5 is the others. And here they show you how the keyboard gets split. You're either accessing the full keyboard or the left or the right.
You want to show that diagram to the camera real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead, James. You know how to do that without knocking the camera.
Well, we'll try. So, here is the example of the call key subprogram.
And of course, if you want to use the controllers, you do a call joist. And then it looks at joystick 1, joystick 2.
Sample code in the.
Thanks for suggesting that, James. I'm not fast enough to think about.
Yeah, I figured if you're standing there with the book out, you might as well
Yeah, I wish I could get
get the
a,
info across the camera.
if I had a little laptop, I could run the video from the TI into a switch box. And I could select either the TI or the laptop, or with that laptop, I could have another camera, or I could have
Yeah.
pre-printed stuff show up on the screen.
I know it's convenient to do that, but right now we've got a minimal setup, so.
It's
we'll
more
survive.
equipment to set up.
Yeah, I know.
It's
More
easy.
things to fail too.
Yeah, yes, yes. That was in the, what we call the Green Book, the user's reference guide.
You ready to move on?
Yeah, if you are.
Yeah, sure, let's do this next. Call key continued. Looks like we have a little program segment here. 10 call key 0 key status, 20 status equals 0 then 10. 30 print K, 40 N. This program will line 10 will accept input, line 20 sends back to send jump back to 10 until the key is depressed. Line 30 will print K. K will be the ASCII value of the press key. Line 40 will unprogram. So if you press A, the computer will print 65, which is the ASCII value for A. Then program ends. Call screen. This command is simple to use in a program and should be easy to master. Example, call screen 2, turn screen black. call screen 16 will turn the screen white. For a full list of colors, see user's guide appendix. Note in the immediate mode, not in the program. The call screen command will only last a split second. Press any key to continue.
Yeah, this is a running program, so it's doing call screen for these different examples. You know, it's changing the entire screen and it's holding it there because it's a running program.
So like if you just type it in on the command line, it would just flash on?
Yeah,
Okay.
unless you do calls, like 10, call screen 2, and then for line 20, you do a go to 20, and it just loops,
Oh, yeah.
forever.
Yeah. So obviously now there's a loop running. That's
Yeah,
also-
well, right now, this loop is your call key, because
Uh-huh.
that line at the bottom of the screen, press any key to continue,
Uh-huh.
is where this is looping.
I understand. CHR stands for character.
Character string.
Character string stands for character. If you have an ASCII value such as that returned by a call key statement, you may print in its original form by print CHR string K. If K equals 65, then CHR string K would print the letter A. This enables you to see the letter, not just the ASCII code. Seg string stands for print a segment of a string, format the seg string, string position length. So this is sort of like substring or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's a different way of doing things than Commodore or Atari do it.
Right, they, in other basic dialects, they had like mid string, left string, right string for manipulating strings. Like
Yeah,
this
you gotta
is-
jump through a Meyer hoop to find a particular part of a string in the TI.
Yeah,
Yeah. So string is a string you're working with. Position is a start place. The string length is how many letters from the start place. Pretty straightforward. A string goes kilowatts here. So if B string equals seg string, A string 83, B string for was pretty straightforward. Read and data. Data is an important part of computer literacy. To be able to manipulate data is very important, whether you are making games or making business programs. When you have data stored in data files, data 135, etc., you may retrieve this info by read command. An example, read A will take 1 from the above data line and set A equal 1.
So yeah, usually data statements are at the end of a program. You got the whole program and then you have a data string. And you tell it read particular and they'll go to that data statement.
Oh, so that it's, you're gonna actually see a line with data 1.
Mhm.
Okay.
It'll have all the data will be separated by a comma.
Okay.
And I think you're allowed like 255 characters per line.
And can you have all different data types? Is it?
Yeah, I can't do it. The basic programmer's guide is there in front of you. That's the blue book
Yeah.
that Hal says he's gonna get you that. So
Okay.
between the blue book and the green book, you can flip back and forth data, and the blue book's got examples.
Yeah.
It's got Mr. Bojangles in there.
Okay. How about, if you have more than one data line in a program?
Oh, yes.
yeah, I think it just reads through the data statement sequentially, right? So every read advances the data pointer.
Mhm.
Okay. So read A. Take the 1. So you did sequential read A, for example, just sequentially.
Yeah, read the next
Read
value, right, the next that statement in the data statement. So if you read A a second time, you'd get the 3 afterwards.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Do you guys want to just keep on going with this?
Yeah,
Sure.
and here's the actual data in the green book. It talks about it. It really doesn't show a good example of what you would have in a program if you got 20 or 30 different data.
Yeah, oh, there's usually double data line
Oh, okay.
there. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's just gonna sequentially go through the list of
Yeah.
data, depending upon which variables you call.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like that TI Sings has the pitch in the data statement, and then it has the words to display on screen. But you heard it correctly pronounce those words, even though you know in English, you got all sorts of exceptions to the rules. So then it would have data statements of the misspelled words that you have to misspell on the TI to get them to sound correctly. Because otherwise, words sound goofy on the TI if you spell them properly, and it tries to read that. It's like, I don't think you got a terminal emulator cartridge here in this collection, but there's a simple, like, 5-line program that the computer will say anything you type in. And so you can type in, you know, hello, how are you, stuff like that, and it sounds like a robot. And you can play with the, what's called the pitch and the slope of the actual frequency that it's speaking at. And then the frequency changes, it gets lower in pitch, as if the computer is running out of breath.
Yeah, this is done data stuff?
No, that's done in the, well, like the TI Sings
Okay.
program we listen to, they have a bunch of misspelled words
Yeah.
in the data file to get the speech synthesizer to pronounce them correctly. Otherwise,
So
it's like,
phonetically.
Right, you're gonna
Yeah.
get a phonetic representation.
yeah,
rather than
that's what I
alphabetic.
was casting for. It's like my GPS in my car is rather humorous, because it goes for straight phonetic pronunciation of any street name,
Yeah,
any destination, stuff like that, and I'm going like, what?
What?
How about, I don't remember about, I don't know if we even got into this when I was growing, but how about file handling, like putting your data lines as a separate file, if that's even an option?
Yeah, some programs, if they're huge, they'll store data on the disk,
Yeah,
but they usually try to avoid that if you can. That's one reason why Extended Basic and the 32K memory expansion go hand in hand.
okay.
Any program on a single-sided, single-density disk can't contain all sorts of extra data. So it would jump to a different disk drive and a different program.
Yeah.
Or I didn't say program, a different
File.
source for things. For instance, on the, what is it, PR base? I think it was PR base, you had the program, and then you had all the data disks for all the members, for instance, of this organization. And you
Yeah.
had to have at least 2
Right,
drives to
two-disk
use it.
operation.
Yeah, because you had also the TI base, TI sort, TI calc,
Yeah.
they all work together doing stuff like that.
Yeah, but they would then expect to find all of the data somewhere else because
Right.
you could then expand it quite a bit. Or if you were using it on a RAM disk, that was a different story because you had lots and lots and lots of storage. But with only 90K
Yeah.
on a SSD disk, you had to have someplace else to put all the information that you were trying to look for. And,
Like a card file program,
yeah,
it would store everything on the disk and it would know where everything was at.
yeah. No, it's,
Okay, that's what's next. Read data continued, example, for x equals 1 to 5, read A, print A, next x, n. And then there you have data line. So this looks like it's just again, it's gonna sequentially read our data line. And I have to go back to it more. Line 10 says x equals 120, reads the first value from data line 16, reference 13579. Redata continued. The previous sequence is repeated more than once in a program, you must use the command restore to set the counter for data back to the first bit of data, or else you'll get a data error. This is because you are trying to read past the end of the data file.
But do you get into fourth?
You need what?
Wait till you get into the fourth programming
Oh,
language.
See what happens when you exceed your stack.
When you use the print command, you have a variety of options to use. The comma allows you to print starting halfway across the screen. A colon used in a print line starts the printing on the next line. A semicolon in a print line allows the next thing to be printed right next to the last thing printed. A tab allows you to move over a specific number of columns before printing.
So on your screen display.
Print space. Example, print A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, comma, D, E, F. We'll do the following. Print A, B, C, semicolon, D, E, F. We'll do the following. Concat is right like that. Anytime you guys want to do something else, let me know.
No, go ahead, because this is all,
Okay, great. ABC semicolon DEF will do the following. Tab 15 semicolon DEF will do the following. And I assume that's just 15 white spaces in there?
15 blanks, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we used this in that marquee program at the start of the meeting on how to position all the words.
So I've got another question, is that, now, is that just like another way of looking at tab, that's just a tab, another function, does tab need a function there? Or, that can be thought of as a function, or nothing?
Oh, it's a programming command. It can be used in immediate mode or in a program.
Okay,
Right, but I mean, essentially, it is a basic function. In other words, you're passing a value to except you're not really getting a return from it, you're getting output to the display.
yeah,
Mhm.
no return value function.
Right.
Okay,
So you can tab it over 5 spaces or 10 or 15, or you only got, what, 28 spaces on the screen.
right,
Notice the name, TI 99-4, not 4A, 4, so this has to be like a
Yeah, this is-
pre-1982.
yeah, this is,
Okay, type in list.
well, I'm looking for the
Oh, backspace is, darn, I'm so used to my fingers doing it, I have to look at the keyboard to be able to tell you what. Function, and then your S key is your left arrow. Okay, space bar stops and freezes it, but gee, I said.
Sam Moore is probably best known for
There we go.
music programs. He wrote this one, but
Yeah,
82.
71082. Yeah, Sam Moore did a bunch of stuff in public domain on Jim Peterson's Tiger Cub discs, where he had, we saw the, one music disc that we were playing. It was all Sam Moore stuff. Okay. Just click, go to RXB, disk 1, and it'll run the load program off of disk 1. So you have animation basic primer 2, call sound effects, Being programmer, music programming demo. Quotes puzzle. Screen graphics, MIDI tutorial. About sub-programs. Times notes, tiny tips, bass notes. We did the music programming, that's always fun. Let's see what that is.
Huh. This is kind of cool, and that the chat is coming up on the side of this, your phone.
If it stayed up a little longer, it was a little larger text, it might actually be useful.
Wow. I'm impressed by all these
Well,
bells.
Lee Jim Peterson had like 1,000 disks in public domain software. And he would compile a whole bunch of different programs on one disk. So you didn't have like one disk for one program, you get a bundle of stuff on it. And he did a ton of music, education, games, programming, things like that in the Tiger Cub library. Okay, the simplest method of music programming uses call sound for each chord with actual numerical values of duration, frequency, and volume. This is sometimes the best method, but it is tedious to program and uses much memory. I love listening Okay, I love looking at music programs, and because everybody's got their own way of writing music. Some do call sound, one note, another call sound statement for the second note, a third call sound statement. Other people do call sound, and then they do a search for a string, and then they run their data statements that have all the frequency, duration, what was the sequence there? Duration, frequency, and volume.
Do you have to play sounds at a time? Do you have for a chord, can you play multiple sounds at the same time? You just cycle through sounds for a chord, or can you play multiple sounds at one time?
It pretty much plays only one
No,
line in it.
I think you can program multiple voices to play at the same time.
Oh, yeah, you have 3 frequency generators.
Okay.
So you can run a chord of 3 different notes.
Right, you have to set them up sequentially, I shouldn't say sequentially, but you have to program the appropriate registers with value before you turn on the tone generator, and then you'll turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you set the registers in the tone generator, you turn it on for the duration of the note, and then you turn it off at the
Yeah,
end.
we'll get into that. Right now, it's stopped the program. It's done a break. And so type in that list space 100-480 function. Yeah.
Or in the case of, TI Basic, you're not actually touching the registers yourself. The subprogram is doing that for you.
Dash. Yeah, that key is different from a PC, isn't it?
Yeah.
They completely transposed it.
I know, it's always fun when you go back right after spending time, but I mean, you get into.
No, let it keep running.
Okay. I was trying to read.
Yeah, it should stop at 480. So that's the song we just listened to.
Right, you can see that it's calling the sound subprogram and passing values to it.
Okay.
Can you go over what those values are and we call them?
Yeah, so it was frequency, duration, frequency, and volume. So you had 2 notes played at each time. You had, like the very last one, line 450, you have a duration of 1,000, that's 1 second, 1,000 milliseconds, frequency of 262 hertz, and a relative volume of 5. On a TI, the lower the number, the higher the volume. I think it's like from 0 to 30 or something like that. And now you have a second note there. You got 195, 5, 165, 5. And you can, or, no, you got 3 notes there. 1,262.5, that's 1 note. All these notes have to play the same duration. So then you have 196, comma 5, that's your second note. And then you have 165, 5, that's your third note. So it's playing 3 notes at once.
So 262 hertz, that's pretty low, isn't it? Or,
440 is in the A, that's the only one I know.
so I guess that's not too.
It's
low.
in your blue book or your green book. We don't need to reference it right now. It's got
440, I guess that's right.
what common notes versus.
Yeah, let's talk about 440 hertz is
Yeah.
an A. That's-
So now let's continue the program that broke by typing CON and then enter.
CON?
Yeah, continue. There, now the program's running again.
How many viewers do we have today?
Okay, now view your type list 500-800.
Six currently. One of which is me.
Oh, yeah.
Sound, go sub 600, go to 700.
Why does it say we started streaming 18
Okay.
minutes ago?
So it just looped over the same
Because I haven't refreshed. this.
part of those call sound statements over again.
Got a question that, from one of our viewers, Carrie Shook, who asked how long the program usually goes. We have been limited, in the last few months, we've been limited to 2 hours. We can get this room, and therefore, usually an hour and a half. Today, they're giving us the room until 4 o'clock, they said. It took a little bit of finagling last week to get this, but we can now go till 4 o'clock, which means we have to shut down probably at about 3:45. So the answer to the question is, we have about another 35 minutes or so of program to go. And then we have to,
Yeah,
So
type
breakdown
in,
time.
we're done studying this. Go sub 600, yeah, so go through that. And type in con and press enter. Now you've got a dash there at the beginning. Just retype over it.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. So that defined the actual notes, and then you get to call the strings. Or actually, that's not even a string, is that?
you're gonna stop the program and to look at the notes if you wanted by pressing the space bar.
Yeah, except it went by a little quick and then we won't. You could do that again. Actually, there's a shortcut for that. I think it's a redo, which is function and,
Eight looks like.
that'll get you the last thing you typed in. Go ahead, press the enter.
And stop it right there.
There.
you go.
So
So
there
two-
it's defining the actual notes. Where was our?
262 would be a C, I guess.
So I'm a little curious as to character types, or now they're doing strings with a dollar sign. Now these look like, are these just normal numerical variables and they're no?
Yeah,
Yeah, these just,
it's a variable, it's not a string.
Yeah, it's decimal value variable, right?
Well, we call sound page 17. Sometimes these books, I jump back from one.
Interesting that some of them are
Oh, here it is.
doubles of the other, and some are not. Like
Uh-huh.
B1 is, or B2 is not the double of B1.
Now, here you go. In the blue book, you've got, here's your frequency versus the actual note. So you got your sharps and flats, Joe. You might want to show this
F1, F2 is not the double of that.
people at home. So in the blue book, on page 124, you've got the actual frequency to note
I
pitch.
don't know if that's coming through, can you get there?
Yeah, it'd be nice if I could scan
Total
stuff like
frequencies.
that, and I had a little laptop, and I could pull that picture up, and then had a switch box to switch from the TI to the laptop, video screen output and back again. But that's more equipment to carry.
Oh, and all I wish for is a 38-foot sailboat. Yeah.
Yeah, I want the Wally 118 myself, but
Or how about a land speeder, you know, with the anti-gravity option, so that
Yeah.
if you get in a traffic jam, you just lift up 30 feet and shoot over the top and come down.
yeah, I'm still waiting for the flying cars we were promised to have in 1980.
The only problem with flying cars is that if you've got more than one of them,
Flying idiots.
yeah, you're gonna be killing, you're gonna be killed, you know, at
Humans
1,500
operating
feet.
cars
Yeah.
bad enough on
Yeah.
a daily
What's that
basis.
one movie, was it Just Imagine? It starts out 30 floors up in the air and there's a traffic cop standing on a helicopter. He's still directing traffic left and right,
Yeah.
waving this line of flying cars, you know,
Yeah,
to come
yeah.
through.
Or you've
Yeah.
got the Jetsons, where
Yeah.
you've got the motor cop
Mm,
sitting behind a hovering billboard.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, press enter. So now we've analyzed the sound statement for music. Go ahead, do the list. Programmer Ken Gilliland did a bunch of musical discs, most notably his disc Wagner, where he did the entire Ring of the Nibelung opera, and he did the music to it, and he had limited animation on the screen.
Now, I've got that. I've got
Because
that.
Wagner can be long, tedious, ponderous, and it takes, a long time for anything to actually, happen, Like the one, Wotan is coming, 5 minutes of music. Wotan is getting nearer, 5 more minutes of music. Wotan is close, another 5 minutes of music. Wotan's coming over the top of the hill there, another 5 minutes of music. And I never analyzed his programs to see how he put that much music on a floppy disk. But he did have some graphics to where there were 5 different patches of the sky, and the clouds changed colors every once in a while, because I think the sun was setting. And so he did stuff like that. He did the Star Trek discs.
Yeah,
That
all
played
the
the,
calendar,
yeah.
I remember the calendars.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, okay, so we're studying this for how to use a string. Well, I guess not.
An array, I guess.
Oh, okay. They said, yeah, so if you want to change the entire key, if you want to go up an octave or down an octave, this makes it easy to do because you're multiplying it by N equals J equals F times to the J, next J. Huh. Well, this is an advanced technique. Most people, 90% of the programs out there just do a call sound. because they're not doing Wagner's opera. Yeah, musician, programmer, artist, guy's great.
Yeah, so much
Bruce
talent.
Beer,
Uh,
amateur pirate, with his,
I feel so dumb hanging around people who can do all this kind of stuff, and I can barely turn on the TI.
well, we're all here because it's fun. You know, we wouldn't put up with all this nonsense if we really didn't enjoy using this little machine.
You know, the
that's
terrible
brought us
part
all
is,
together.
I knew so much more once upon a time, and I've forgotten so much. So much tries to come back and doesn't quite get there. I used to be able to do a lot of things with my TI, and picked up the iPad and the Linux machine and stuff, and you get away from stuff, and if you don't remember, or if you make that mistake, you know, if you confuse things, it's very easy to get confused and very easy for me to say, "Oh, screw this," you know.
James
I'll go watch YouTube, you know, and I just.
Someone knocking at the door. Yeah, it was on the way here, I was trying to figure it out, like these monthly meetings run me about 4 hours once a month. And the fair runs longer, so if I just do a 4 times 12, that's 48 hours a year. And I've been doing it for 30 years, so it comes out to about 1,500 hours.
Yeah.
The past 30 years. Now, 1,000 hours is 3 months nonstop, 24/7. So I'm trying to figure out, like, so 4.5 months of my life
Yeah,
nonstop.
that
is
doesn't
then-
even count the driving time.
Well, that sort of fudges that in there too,
Does it?
on my driving time.
Well, yeah, 4
'cause
hours,
we're
well,
not
4
allowed
hours,
to
because we have 3 hours that,
Mhm.
usually maximum that they'll give us, that they used to give us, and then they cut us back down, and now
And we
they're.
start, you know, we
Good.
actually start broadcasting 30 minutes.
Well, it was easy to be lazy at home and do the virtual meetings, right? Just moved my TI from my office and set it in the front room, and I got my cameras, I got my scanner, I got everything set up there.
Yeah. The in-person meetings, however, gives us a chance. I mean, it used to give us a chance, if nothing else, to have lunch at Burger King. And,
No, there is
Oh,
no-
wow.
except Burger King has been torn down.
Go ahead, read that out loud, John.
In an even more compact method, the multiplication factors of the durations and subscript numbers of the frequencies are placed in data statements, and the entire melody is read and played with one call sound in a loop of only 5 lines. This method used only 928 bytes, less than half as much as the first method. And we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, so that's it, let's see now. Go sub 1304. Okay. T equals 0 to 25, next J, return. T equals 300, data. So that's using what, that multiplier and data strings. Huh. Now, this program's sort of unique where it breaks the running of the program continuously and tells you, oh, look at these lines, and then
Yeah, it's an
press it.
interesting, interactive way to get people to examine the code.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see that work.
I can't say I've seen another program that does this type of routine. I've seen them where they stop, or they just hold there waiting for you to press the next key, or they say, or they're looking for a particular input,
Right.
and
Right,
the
it's
program doesn't.
completely guided program from end to end,
Mhm.
whereas this is actually the program, and it
Mhm.
sets breakpoints and prints directions, and allows you to continue and encourages you to
Yeah.
examine the code.
So with the TI, you've got programming structure, so you got your logic, and then you could have graphics. You could have motion in extended basic with sprites. You got sound, you got music.
Yeah, considering the state of the art 40 years ago now, it was pretty exciting stuff. I mean, and the neat thing was that we knew how to do it. Whereas now, with something like Windows, 99% of people who use Windows are like me. You know, they know how to turn
If
the
there's
thing on.
not a
and
box
that's
on
it.
a screen, you can put your cursor on and click to check
Yeah,
it.
and that's it.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know, I mean, most people are not like Jim and you and the other programmers. Most of us are users. We just turn it on and it better work, and if it doesn't work, we call Jim or we call you. It's, when my car doesn't work, I call you. When the computer doesn't work, I call Jim, and that is the way I think the vast majority of people in the world function. And that is why, that's why they pay you the big bucks, right? You always have to have, in the world, I've noticed, you always have to have the high priest of something that, you know, usher you out of the room while they fix whatever it is that you've just messed up. And if you want to watch, they charge you more.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn, then you have to either, you know, pay union dues, or you have to figure it all out on your own.
That's what was fun about that British sitcom called the IT Squad.
IT crowd?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
good stuff.
I actually used a clip from that because, go ahead, press the continue there. We bought one of these newfangled Roku big screen TVs. And it says, oh, plug and play. Yeah. So I plug it in, I turn it on, and we're trying to run the setup on it. And the setup doesn't get very far. So we're going through the book. Oh, try turning it off and turning it back on again. Then it's like, turn your router off and turn it back on again. So after, no fooling, 12 times, we finally got the thing functioning the way it was designed. And so I went to post that on Facebook, and I found that clip of the IT crowd. It's a combination of every time they ever said, have you tried turning it off and on again? So the
Well,
one guy does,
it's almost as good as the madness for programming some of the smart light bulbs that they're selling, where you have to turn it on and off, on and off, on and off.
yeah. So the one guy does that repeatedly. Another guy just pushes a button on his desk when the phone rings, and he's got a reel-to-reel tape recorder. He says, what's your problem? And it stops. And you hear, "Rrr, rrr, rrr, rrr." Then the tape starts playing. If you try turning it off and on again. "Rrr, rrr, 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 rrr." Yeah, well, I'm glad I could help you. So you couldn't even hear the words the other guy was saying, but he had the tape recorder set up. And then,
I get those robocalls all the time, and they always say, "Hi, this is Charles. How are you today?" I said, "Well, I've just poured acid on my head, and I think my hair is all falling off, and my feet are on fire." "Oh, that's fine. Well, listen, the reason I'm calling today," and by that time I've already hung up.
Mad Magazine had that where a cheerful nurse comes in on a cranky patient. And she goes, how are we today? And he says, between the way you look and I feel, we're in terrible shape. Insult. In any case, so what's this statement here?
Never insult anybody that has a hypodermic in their hand. Never, ever.
In a variation of the last, the call sound is given a negative duration of negative 4,000 so that it continues to play until interrupted by the next note. And the actual duration is controlled by the delay loop. This permits very fast music to be played without stuttering.
Okay. I think late Bruce Harrison did this with his music that he had in conventional format.
Yep.
He had military marches, he had all sorts of stuff. And he went, you can get a 1/64th note on a TI.
Yep.
Even though by the timing and 60 cycle interrupt and everything else,
It's
you
like,
can't. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, oh, he was just beaming with pleasure at one fair when he was announcing that. Okay, so this
Another
is.
genius that has departed the scene.
Yeah, restore, go sub, read, call sub. Okay, there it is, 1490. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of ways of doing this, but notice how they're got less data in storage with each one. It's all to show you how to tighten up the code and do.
Have we started doing recycling? Because it just said you're live on there and it started up again. It looked like it,
I don't know.
have we exceeded your?
I don't think so.
data limit?
I don't think so.
You know, sometimes we have 2 or 3 chapters to a meeting.
Yeah, well, it depends
Yeah.
if there's a network problem or not. Well, I noticed that the autofocus on that is kind of going in and out depending upon.
No, this looked to me, if you remember, what was the format that we used before? Ustream. Ustream used to stop the broadcast and insert commercials, and I guess they kept the broadcast going, it just didn't show it, they'd show the commercial.
It didn't tell us it was doing that.
That's right, and we would continue, and the result would be that there would be
Yeah, they'd stop
gaps in
over
the
a
show.
section.
Yeah, that was a real mess.
Go
We
ahead.
currently don't have the channel set up for monetization, so in theory, we shouldn't be, but you never know.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Nothing's more annoying to me than watching YouTube and right in the middle of something that I'm interested in, they drop in a commercial for something I have no interest in whatsoever, no matter what it is. Every now and then they'll give me a commercial that I actually would like to see, but that's very rare.
Well, they just broadcast everything to everybody on commercials.
Well, yeah,
Because they don't know what interests you.
Well, you can,
And if
there is
you-
an algorithm that you
Yeah,
get.
if you click skip commercials, they go, okay, this customer number so-and-so didn't like that kind of commercial, so we'll try a different one next time.
Well,
No, not customer, consumer number.
Okay.
yeah.
The
yeah.
customers are somebody else, the people that want to
Yes,
sell you.
That's right,
Okay.
yeah. The viewer is sort of the least important.
So we're getting
part of
into
it.
base notes now?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, because what's the lowest note a TI can do, like a 440?
No, that's an A. That's the only one I know. The lowest number is, I'm not a musician, so I don't know.
It's there in the blue book or the green book. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Let's see what the
You
the
just,
listing.
you just try doing a 413 hertz A apparently.
Mhm.
You want to take a look at the listing?
Yeah, yeah.
There we go.
Well, just do a redo, function in A, and then be ready on the space bar. Okay. So that's how it's displaying it.
It's interesting that it's defining function R with X as integer of X plus 0.5. And it uses it later down the line.
And then our Western music is goofy the way the tuning goes, because it's not exactly perfectly symmetrical in multiples, because that doesn't sound quite right.
Yeah, I noticed that on the listing of the notes.
Yeah, I think there's like 5 different, I forget what they call it, but I'll say the word formats of music worldwide,
Yeah.
and how they do tuning and how they decide what note is after what.
Have you seen the, what is it, cell sulfugit tones that are supposed to, the 9 or 8 tones that are supposed to restore mental health and make you live forever, whatever. That they, you know, Tesla had his.
RIFE, chakra, no. Yeah, I've seen those, stuff like that. There's certain frequencies the body
Yeah.
likes.
It's supposed to rejuvenate you in certain ways and all. But I've discovered empirically that there are certain frequencies that make me want to point my revolver out the window and shoot at the cars next to me. Usually those are tones that are making my car rock back and forth.
Oh, yeah, they got the bass loudspeaker the size of 2 suitcases under the
Yeah,
engine.
and you hope that these people have already gone deaf because,
I know people who have.
Yeah, except the
Oh, I
problem
love
is
it
they're
loud.
not-
That's 'cause you can't hear
they're-
anymore.
They're not completely deaf, so they have to make it louder than.
well, I think
They can feel
I think
it.
they can feel it more than they
Oh,
can
maybe
hear
they
it.
can get concussed by it.
Because if I can feel it 3 cars away, you know,
Yeah.
and my car is vibrating back and forth, then it's too loud.
I had to laugh at one report I read online about youngsters with electric cars are getting noise-making devices, so they sound like a Japanese car with a rattle can in the back. Because the whole thing about being young and aggressive
Oh,
and
yeah.
having lots of
Well,
testosterone.
it's-
You gotta
is
have
having-
that.
I think
The
it makes
young,
a
the
lot-
young
Gotta have that
adult,
room, yeah.
the young adult version of putting, using a clothespin to clip a,
Baseball
playing
card to the
your
spokes of your bicycle.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, exactly. Or taking the can opener and poking a very tiny hole in your muffler, just enough so that, you know, the cop, when he stops you, oh, no, sir, it's my normal muffler. Yeah, boom, 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 but I don't know anything about that, you know. Or having that plug on the pipe coming right out of the manifold.
Oh,
that you
the
could-
bypass.
Yeah, the bypass, where you
Cut out.
could pull.
bypass and fake tips on the end of your bumper.
Yeah, all those things that,
Yeah, the best thing I saw in an old magazine, you know, a lot of people, their car had a 6, but they'd hang another tailpipe under the other side, so pretend it was a V8 with dual exhaust. Well, the clue was no exhaust came out that
Yeah.
Yeah.
my buddies in high school had a stock Ford, and the lowest one they could possibly have with the black walls and everything else. But each week they were both working. Both these brothers were working. Each week they would buy a new badge for the side of it. They would get something that made it into the 500 class or whatever it was, and they would keep improving it every single week. So after a month or 2 months, it looked like they had the top of the line car, and
Yeah.
it was.
Okay, so where are we at this one? Okay, so.
Imagine a Harley Davidson with
Well, sound
loudspeakers.
must be programmed with
Yeah.
3 notes,
Exhaust.
negative 4
Jet disconnected.
noise.
That was what it
The
was.
first 2
Well,
notes
here,
can be
that's because I'm on the library
Oh,
Wi-Fi.
either audible or
Kind of
inaudible frequency.
Flakes every once in a
Third
while.
note must carry the value shown in the list for the desired note in the volume 3. The actual bass note is produced by the negative 4 noise. Well, that's how you get a noise, is use a negative number. And there's, how many different noises are there?
I don't remember off
Yeah,
the top of my head.
8?
Something like
It's
that.
in the blue book and the green book. Okay, all right, let's,
Yeah, it's nice to know stuff still on paper that we have to have, you know.
Beep.
I noticed this program uses its own beep and boop. It has like a growl most
Yeah.
of the time rather than that beep. So yeah, like anything else, you start out with a simple command, and it takes up a lot of space and memory, and it's a lot of typing, and then you get into this more high performance type stuff, less data, less space in the program, but it's more convoluted on trying to write it.
Yeah. By the way, we've got about 4 minutes before we should start shutting down.
Oh, okay.
If
I don't know how much longer this program is, I've never run it before.
You want to keep going here?
Do you have an emulator at home that you have been using for TI?
I haven't used an emulator in years.
Okay.
Once we're done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it did actually.
yeah, I think it's
spit
at
out
end of demo, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. That's why we had that beep,
Yeah,
because that was the end of it, not his built-in beeps. Okay, so that was the, oh, let's do a Chinese fire drill there. Yeah, sometimes I wish, you know, like some of those talk shows, we had another camera just up in the corner showing it.
no, I mean, when we play out, we can pick up the camera and kind of.
Well, what's
walk
interesting-
around and pan around your setup if you like.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't like to touch it because the tripod's very minimal and it's very fiddly to get it even remotely centered and level, which it isn't.
Maybe
So the
we
one-
should pan back and show, we're in a room, we're in the smallest
Right, well, we
conference
can do
room.
that once we do the sign out, we can kind of
Yeah.
pick up the camera.
Well, what I was getting at was that we're watching this show on a, what about a 15-inch monitor or so? And right behind it is an 8-foot screen. If we could just figure out how to
Well, I mean,
access that,
there's HDMI cable there, and
yeah.
use,
that's bigger than the
I didn't bring that
table.
adapter.
although it's got high quality handprints all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I might catch something from that.
yeah,
I do have a VGA input to HDMI.
Yeah, I have
output
one as
adapter.
well, I have one as
Yeah.
well at home, so if you
So-
remind me, I'll bring it.
Yeah, so we actually could try that someday, but we'd have to try to figure out how to turn that monitor on.
well, there's a controller right over there on the table
Oh, okay.
behind you, I think. They use Zoom meetings in here,
Yeah,
and I don't think we've ever tried Zoom, have we? We've tried,
yeah, I've kind of tried to avoid it as much as possible, but,
yeah, I do that with the yacht club, and they have Zoom meetings, and it's really frustrating because who's ever running the meeting mutes everybody, so nobody can actually talk to anybody else, and you only hear the Commodore at the time.
Yeah.
So
But we have been going through the program called the 8th one down here.
impressive.
The music programming
Good choice.
demo on the Jim Peterson Tiger Cub Library, disc number 1150. For those of you at home who want to play along, of course, if you, you know, you might want to present this on the
what's
camera. If you
Show
that's
that.
the
Ever-
current iteration of the fair disc.
come to an actual Chicago fair,
Yeah.
one of these discs with 8 gig of TI programs and discs in .dsk format, including the entire Chicago User Group Library, Lima, Boston Computer Society, Plato, which is over 1,000 discs. We demoed Plato a few years
Mhm.
ago.
Mhm.
And most recently, the late Barry Harmson's library, which was everything for the TI in Europe in 2017. He gave me that flash drive.
Yep.
And it is an incredible wealth of information because it included books and magazines on the TI. It's really overwhelming. The
If
Barry
you can
Harmson
read
library.
Dutch, if you can read German, if you can read the French, the Italian, the Danish, yeah, all the books.
Well, he had the English language ones in there
Yeah.
too. English
Oh,
is
yeah, I
very
can
hard.
get the ones from England and Australia. The problem with Zoom that I find is that the admin, whoever sets the thing up, can mute everybody if he wants to, or unmute anybody if he wants to. And at least the ones that I've been using. And it is, but it's a tool. It's like everything else. It can be very useful, especially if it's a small group. It can be very useful. Everybody can keep their microphone on if they want to, and then there's a certain on YouTube we seem to do pretty well. People, can communicate back and forth. That's good.
Just making a smarmy remark that we're all muted here. Well, anyone who's not in the room is muted here.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That's the benefit of being in the room.
Yeah, that's right. You gotta come to the meetings,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all the people who aren't either in this country or in this state even, or even in this community can't get here. But for the rest of us, it works out. Yeah, that's true. You don't have to be dressed. Well,
Too
that's.
much information.
If you, it says you don't have to be dressed to be on YouTube. Well, that's true, provided you either don't turn your computer on or you don't push the camera back far enough so it picks up the entire body. If you're sitting there in your underwear, you might not want to. And then again, you might want to. It depends on where on the YouTube you go.
Carrie can be known as the no pants influencer.
Yeah. Well, we're
That's
coming to
probably
the.
30% of the influencers.
We're coming to the short strokes of the meeting, and we just want to remind everybody that the fair this year will be, yeah, you have to be careful. No camera on YouTube.
Well, there's a camera on YouTube that's not pointed at you.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. You have to remember that the fair is on the 14th of October, right here, and there'll be a change. Well, maybe I better wait till the music stops. I don't know how well we're being jammed here, but.
Play ball.
There's a change this year in the fair. Starting today, actually, the library is celebrating 150 years of existence. So even though I had reserved the room months ago, I got a call recently and they said, we need the large community meeting room downstairs that you usually meet in, that you've been meeting in since 1994. But this year we need it because we have an event in the library that is scheduled for that day, and we want that room. However, we will give you another room. So they've given us a large room on the 3rd floor on the extreme west end, and the name of the room escapes me at the moment, but I will advertise it again later. And anyway, it will be sufficient, I think, for our purposes this year, and then maybe next year we'll be back in the big room. And at any rate, it's we don't have much choice about it, so we'll make it work one way or the other. And it's a room where they used to hold the book sales, if you're familiar with the book sales that they used to have here. And it is been cleared out. The shelves have been cleared out, and there's just tables in there now, so it'll work. We have a screen, a projection screen, and it will be sufficient for our needs. I guess that's about it for this month.
Do you want to pick up the camera and pan around?
Yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should just, why don't we just move the box?
Whatever you want.
There's Vic. There's John. There's Jim. And I'll just swing it all the way around. And that's me. So I guess that's about it. Here's the screen again. And then there's the big screen up above.
Yeah, I'll pull back a little bit so you
Yeah.
can kind of see the room. You can see Vic's little handy dandy tri-viewer. The big display that maybe one day we'll utilize for meetings, but the tri-viewer actually works pretty well for us.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I made it.
And then Vic's rig, his
We have the
modified
nano
console, and the nano PEB, and the final gram,
And the F-18.
the F-18A, and a horde of cables, because you need a horde of cables.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we will be signing off at this point.
So until next month, and it will be, I guess, let's see, have you ever demonstrated running stuff on an emulator? Yes, I think we have.
We have, but part of the point of these meetings are we want to actually run as much
Yeah.
as we can on real steel, so to
And,
speak.
and we also, Vic sometimes brings the big steel, the real steel, the P-box, and it is still, it's kind of heavy to transport, and he drives 50 miles each way to get here, so it is kind of burdensome. But the little device, which you can kind of see right there, is a lot easier to transport, along with a console and the ancillary equipment.
Right,
So,
we even have the tri-viewer of the P-box.
Yeah. And the tri-viewer, which has, whoa, your tripod is a little wonky, actually has 3 screens on it. And I guess it's something that Vic has
Yeah, inspired from Star Trek.
on Star Trek, Star Wars or whatever. And it works very well. He's built the whole thing and brings it every meeting, so that everybody at the table can see it, as well as the person who's sitting at the console. And all of that gear has to be brought in and then taken out again. And so we really have not spent a lot of time using emulators. We have actually tried it a couple of times.
And we have used real floppy disks, like when, on occasion when Vic had brought his P-box in,
Yeah.
sometimes he had
The
part of the collection, part of the club collection or various other TI user group collections that he would demo from time to time that actually ran from real floppy.
And we had several hundred discs in our library at one point, and then we began to expand with all of the other libraries of all the other user groups. And the result was that we now have, I don't know, Vic has a collection of how many discs? How many discs or programs do you have, I should say, not discs?
On the compact flash,
Well, just
The
overall.
physical disc collection.
physical discs, I'm paring it down because I had multiple copies of the Chicago.
Yeah, because I inherited the
User
set
group
from you, and
Ballpark figure,
Mm-hmm.
ballpark figure,
Probably down to less than 1,000 floppies now.
1,000 floppies, well.
Yeah.
what do you think you have?
With each one,
the
with,
height?
10
But on
programs?
this thing, there's gotta be 10 or 10,000 floppies. Now, I know there is some duplication in some of these libraries.
Well, it's an amazing collection, and life is short. There isn't time to play all the games or even use all the utilities or do all the tutorials or all the other things that you'd like to do, but it is, after all, our hobby, not our business.
Yeah, but I have other game machines too.
And we have other hobbies, and then there's, every now and then we like to eat. We used to like to eat even more when Burger King was around, but Burger King has been torn down, and we don't get to go there and have lunch.
Okay, well, I think we should probably sign off at this point.
I think so, because we've got a couple of minutes, and I think there's somebody waiting to use this room afterwards. So, until next month, until the first Saturday next month, we will see everybody then. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for watching this, and see you later. Bye-bye.